everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Gentoo, your source for all things gaming and tech related. I'm Aaron James.
Yeah, he is. That's Aaron James right there. And I'm Wesley Ellington. Let's jump right into this week's up-and-coming releases. You can see these games and many more released throughout the month on your favorite platforms.
This week we've got the long-awaited console release of a zombie survival game, a couple of new ports for the Nintendo Switch, as well as a game where you get to play as everyone's favorite acorn-loving squirrel.
DayZ releases for the Xbox One and PlayStation 4 on October 15th. Finally, you can enjoy survival in DayZ's zombie apocalypse on console. Try your best to survive as long as possible, all while dealing with zombies, hostile player interaction, and severe weather hazards. But don't forget to make a few friends along the way.
Oh, I know a friend I made along the way.
Yeah, that's me.
Ooh. Overwatch and The Witcher 3 are both releasing for the Nintendo Switch on October 15th. Use the new gyroscopic aiming controls in Overwatch to line up the perfect shot with your Joy-Cons. And also take Geralt on the go with your Nintendo Switch in handheld mode. It might only be in 720p, but you can play The Witcher 3 wherever you want, so it's worth it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's worth it for sure.
Oh yeah, don't even have a Switch.
Neither do I. I say Scrat's Nutty Adventure for the PC, PS4, and Xbox One Switch on October 18th. Join Scrat on his adventure to regain his favorite acorn from an ancient temple, hoping to find all of the legendary crystal nuts in order to regain his most prized possession.
You gotta do it. It's my childhood.
I'm
Scrat. These games and many more will be releasing throughout the month, so be sure to be on the lookout for them.
Up next, check out the finer things with Quinn.
Nathan Drake, that two-bit thief. Risking it all for some piece of treasure. I guess that's how they know me. How they'll remember me. But that's not who I am.
Hey everybody, welcome to The Finer Things, the show where we examine games for their artistic value. For yet another week, I'm your host, Quinn Foose. On this episode, we will be looking at a game from a developer that you've all seen on this show once before. Naughty Dog's consistent delivery of quality stories makes it a great candidate to appear on this show multiple times. This time around, they've brought us an action-packed adventure and the most recent mainline installment in one of their highest-rated properties, Uncharted 4: A Thief's End. The Uncharted series began with the release of the first title, Drake's Fortune, on November 19, 2007. The second and third titles, Uncharted 2: Among Thieves and Uncharted 3: Drake's Deception, released in 2009 and 2011. The early titles felt just like playing through a fun-for-all adventure movie. The focus laid heavily on the action elements of the stories, featuring cutscenes and quick-time events that showcase big set pieces and crazy camera angles. They also feature curses, which gave the games a mystical feel that made them quite unique compared to other action and shooter games at the time. If you've never played these classics and ever get a chance to, make sure to take it. Uncharted 4 is, to date, the culmination of the maturation process that Naughty Dog went through with Nathan Drake, the series' main protagonist. It shows in the type of story that they tell this time around and in their willingness to create characters that feel real emotions. The story here is real. There's emotional weight to it. Instead of the old, there's a treasure out there, let's go find it, that we used to see, here Nathan struggles with problems surrounding his lost and newly found brother Samuel and his wife Elena, which takes a toll on his mental and physical well-being throughout the game. Mature storytelling is one thing, but without worthy and compelling characters to tell a story with, you've only solved one part of the puzzle. Luckily, Naughty Dog solved the whole puzzle with this one. Nathan Drake and his mentor turned partner in crime Victor Sullivan, or Sully, have both been a part of the series from the beginning, and it is good to see their friendship fleshed out and to see them put through trials. It's hard to describe how these characters give the story its richness other than to say that you feel what they feel when you're playing for the experience. With deep character development and mature, grand storytelling, Naughty Dog created what is for now a very satisfying end to the Uncharted series. Perhaps we will one day see another mainline installment in the series, but for now, if you played all the other games, you can play Uncharted: The Lost Legacy, which is a standalone expansion for Uncharted 4. If you've never given these games a chance, then make sure to check them out. Thank you for joining me once again today on The Finer Things. Make sure not to miss the next episode when we examine a new game. Thanks for watching.
Doom Eternal will be the sequel to the 2016 rebirth of the Doom franchise that was plainly titled Doom. It saw the series take a step back from the more horror-oriented approach of Doom 3 to bring the classic Doom formula into a current generation game. I loved its old-school premise of getting guns, finding secrets, killing demons, and repeating. It wasn't something that bored me, it actually excited me. The attitude it put out was another big reason. It has an absolutely adrenaline-pumping soundtrack, great aesthetic design, gore, and pretty interesting lore. I mean, you play the Doom guy, a dude so tough, hell itself fears him. It's ridiculous, and that's why it worked. However, I had some gripes with the level design, such as being teased with an expansive Foundry level, but then suddenly becoming more and more linear as we went on. I really hoped for expansive vertical levels with non-linear approach to combat and exploration, and it seems that the sequel, Doom Eternal, will be pushing this, with the inclusion of a grappling hook to easily maneuver around some of the more vertical areas. This time around, you'll be fighting the forces of Hell on Earth rather than Mars, though apparently you'll visit other locations too, including Heaven and an alien planet. Not a lot of games let you battle against angelic forces, so I really am interested in their take on Heaven, and how they seem to not present it as inherently good, but just the exact opposite of Hell, with its own agenda. One thing I've seen people complaining about early Doom Eternal footage is the heads-up display. Personally, I don't have a problem with the HUD. While the theme of it does seem to be a little more video gamey, I think it's obvious that developers are having even more fun working on this title than the last. The old school grunts are kind of annoying, and at the very least I hope there's an option to turn them off. The best thing about Doom 2016 that I'm excited to see expanded on is the push-forward combat system. The developers said they see Doom as the ultimate power fantasy, where the hundreds of enemies you fight aren't in control. It's like they've been locked in a room with you, and now you must teach them some manners in the most brutal and aggressive ways possible. It's a step away from the typical FPS that has you finding cover and healing. Doom rewards you with items you need to keep fighting by defeating enemies, so it puts a big emphasis on moving between each foe with as much speed as possible, instead of finding cover and slowly whittling down their numbers. I'm excited what new tools besides the grappling hook we'll get to test out on some demons. Doom Eternal also features a new battle mode, different from the multiplayer included in 2016 Doom. Battle mode is a 2v1 where one player takes control of a fully loaded Doomslayer, with the goal of eliminating the other two players who are controlling demons. The demons get to summon AI enemies to attack the Slayer, and have different abilities depending on the demon they're playing. Taking advantage of the low player mode, all the maps are designed for fast-paced games where the intensity is continually ramped up. Doom Eternal was supposed to release next month, but a statement was released last week explaining that the game would be delayed until March to make sure we receive the most polished product possible. We'll have to wait and see if the extra time pays off. Thanks for watching KNWT, Channel 8.
The legend of the great Bambino. You know, no one ever found that ball. Today, someone's gonna find that ball. That's right, we are playing MLB The Show 19. For the first time, we're having a baseball game, finally, on Game Breakers. And no, I'm not playing this game because it's free for the PlayStation 4 this month. You're lying to yourself if that's what you think is happening here, but I'm excited to talk to you guys about MLB The Show 19. Alright guys, we're going to start off with some honesty. I haven't played a baseball game in a very long time. So that's why I was really delighted to see sort of an introduction to new players or players who haven't played in a while, to show them the ropes about basically everything in the game, from swinging or from throwing, pitching, baseball stuff. Honestly, once I got the swing of things, I like that one. Once I got the swing of things, the game became really easy. Playing baseball was something that I did a lot as a kid, so the timing was never really something that was challenging. It was just sort of the controls that I had to get used to once again. But once I got the hang of it again, honestly, it was a lot of fun. Alright, so moving on. This is one of the things that I can't really tell if this is a good thing or a great thing or just a lazy thing. Baseball games haven't really changed in the past 20 years or so of them being made. There hasn't been really any new sort of nuances to the games, and that kind of makes for the same experience, just with better graphics every single year. And honestly, that argument can be made for any sort of annual game, but baseball in particular seems to not have the same ability to change over their time. But then again, I feel kind of bad for the MLB games, because they're kind of like the black sheep of sports games. No one really cares about them that much. No one really shows them any love. I mean, heck, it took us a whole year to get an MLB game on Game Breakers. So honestly, that's something that they have to get better at, and maybe selling. But yeah, this game is kind of normal, I guess. But I'm just not gonna sit here and bash MLB The Show 19. if you like baseball and you have a genuine interest in baseball, this is definitely the game for you. I mean, it follows the pace of real life ball, and it keeps up track with the roster and trades and everything that's going on within the league. So that kind of makes the game a little more interesting and dynamic. But other than that, it's your normal sports game. It's baseball in video game form, and you play the game. And that'll be all for MLB The Show 19. I hope you guys had fun watching me play this game, because I had quite a bit of fun playing this game. It was kind of shocking to have fun, but I had it. Thanks for joining me here on Game Breakers.
This week on Cooper Challenge Arena, we've got bananas and a lemon lime soda.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Cooper Challenge Arena. I'm Keegan, and our special guest this week is
Cody Nance.
We brought him all the way from Nerd Central to show him the superior nerd
Boom,
show.
roasted.
Shots fired right out of the gate.
We'll see about that.
Shots fired right out of the gate. It's simple, folks, though. Each week, a new game, a new challenge, and a new competitor trying to climb their way into the Cooper Challenge Arena. Cody, go ahead and let them know. What are we playing today?
We're playing the 2001 PS2 Classic, or in this case, GameCube Classic, SSX Tricky, baby.
All right, so we're going to do a race. Winner takes all. And, of course, you guys are wondering the challenge this week. It's going to be the Bananas and Sprite Challenge. So the loser is going to eat a banana or two and then drink some Sprite, and, well, we're going to see what happens. You ready, Cody?
I'm ready.
All right, let's get into this race.
On somebody phone now. And free as a bird. Oh, why do I keep doing that?
Let's go. This is my opportunity.
I need this for the pride too. This is the game of my childhood.
This was the game of Cody's childhood. Oh, let's go! Let's go!
How are you grinding upside down?
Oh, Cody! I don't know. I don't know.
Oh, Funland actually did put me behind you.
Oh, come on. Come on, one time.
Oh, yes.
Oh, no! Oh,
Oh my God!
2 seconds!
No! No! Oh, wow.
No!
Clutch!
No! Unfortunately, guys, I'm back again for the 3rd week in a row. I lost to Cody Nance by 2 seconds. And unfortunately, I have to pay the price. 2 bananas, liter of Sprite. We're gonna see what happens. Let's go ahead and get started.
Not bad. I like bananas. Number 2.
It's time for the Sprite. Ooh. I'm a little confused. Oh, maybe. Nope. Alright guys, well I honestly don't know what to say. I guess, well, Cody, you beat by 2 seconds, but bananas and Sprite, I'm apparently immune. Wait. No, I'm kidding. It's nothing. Like, Cody, come on.
Hello, it's D&DFD time. Let's get started. I'm feeling a little under the weather, so my voice is gonna sound weird. The class in D&D is one of the most important things to consider while making a character. Your class determines what skills you have, what weapons you can use, and what saving throws you can make. But the most important thing you gain from your class is how many hit points you have, which means how much damage you can take. So the classes are broken up into 2 categories, the martial classes and the casters. The martial classes are the classes that rely on skill and strength to deal damage. In simplest terms, they hit stuff real good. The casters are those classes that use magic and faith to cast spells with varying effects. So, for this week, we are going to look at the martial classes. Do you like hitting things? Do you like screaming? Do you like screaming while hitting things? Well, look no further, because Barbarian is the class for you. The Barbarian gets the largest hit die of any class in D&D, a whopping D12. The Barbarian's main appeal is its crazy high HP combined with the ability Rage, where while enraged, you take less damage and you have the potential to deal more damage. Next is the Fighter. The Fighter is the king of the martial classes. They are the champions of hitting things. The Fighter gets a bunch of proficiencies, which includes every weapon and every armor. In my opinion, they are one of the most versatile combat classes. If you want to be an archer, be an archer. If you want to be a tank, be a tank. The fighter gets 1d10 to their hit die and the ability Second Wind, which means they get to roll their hit die while in combat. So the next class is one of the strangest classes in D&D, in my opinion. It's the Monk. The monks are special because instead of focusing on weapons, they focused on their fists. With each level, they can punch harder and harder. Think Bruce Lee. The monk gets a d8 as their hit die. Are you tired of your party robbing the innocent? Wish there was a higher power to smite all those who need a good smiting? Do you just want to be the fun police? Well then the paladin is the choice for you. Paladins are like fighters, but they have to follow the rules of a god. In return for their devotion, you get to use holy flames to destroy all evildoers and non-believers. The paladin gets a 1d10 hit die. Next is the ranger. Do you like the woods? Do you like animals? Then the ranger is the choice for you. The ranger specializes in nature, whether it's killing nature or protecting some sacred tree or something. Now technically, rangers don't have to use bows or any sort of ranged weapon. They can actually use any weapon they want to in the game. But their ranger spells really encourage you to use a bow. The ranger gets a d10 hit die. Rogue is the last class I'll be covering today. Rogue is the supreme skill class. Of all the martial classes, rogues can use the most skills. Now that being said, rogues are also the edgiest class. Rogues are the thieves and the assassins. They're the ones who grew up on the streets and had a bad life and now they just steal to survive. That kind of stuff. Rogues have the potential to deal crazy amounts of damage thanks to their sneak attack skill. So these are the martial classes. Not one class is really better than the other. Each has their upsides and downsides. That's just how classes are. Well, I'm out of time for this week. I'm Dicey, and keep watching Gentoo.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to a new episode of Project Delta. I'm your host, Dalton Spees, and with me this week I have
Quinn Foose.
And today we're playing what I think looks like one of the most entertaining indie games to come out in a while, Untitled Goose Game. So we've got Quinn, he's on the controls this week, controlling our maniac of a goose here. He's learning the controls right now, just learning the ropes so he can terrorize these helpless villagers.
Just figuring things out.
Yeah, he may or may not pick this boot up or walk past that broken bicycle, but so this game, it's made by House, and I think everybody expected them to eventually change the name of the game, especially when it first came out, and people, figured like, oh, this is a working title, they'll change it, and it won't be called this. But it turns out House's plan all along was to not name the game and just have it be Untitled Goose Game. So here we have it, Quinn. That's pretty creative of them to just not even actually give it a real name.
It's very creative, and I do the finer things, so I think you can trust my opinion on that.
Yeah, that's pretty fine if you ask me.
No, it's perfect this way.
That's perfect. Just little simple title screen, like you'd see in a movie. It's like, oh, Untitled Goose Game, Avengers Endgame, same thing.
It's kind of nice. Hopefully the goose doesn't get dusted though.
So this is your first time really getting some hands on this game. So far, what do you think of it? Like, how does it feel? How are the controls?
Well, it's definitely a little different, from like a AAA game that you'd pick up or something like that. It's very simple. I don't usually play puzzle games, which this appears to be in general, but I think this is something I could get behind because I like the goose.
And so I like the goose. So a lot of people have been kind of classifying this as a stealth game, which I think they're rightfully saying so. I mean, you have to kind of sneak around this gardener right now, but obviously there's other villagers that are around, and you just got to sneak around. And if you pull up select, the game gives you many different tasks for you to complete on each level, and then once you complete those, obviously you move on to the next level, kind of like every other game that's ever been created.
Yes, of course.
But so I want to know, how do you think having to sneak around all these people adds to the experience?
So whenever I messed with it a little bit earlier, I was pretty terrible at getting around the guy.
Yeah.
I think it adds an element of challenge to it because otherwise you're basically playing a flash game.
Yeah.
So you need a little bit of challenge, and I think that the stealth probably...
He says, give me back my trowel, the kind goose.
I would... That was mine. Anyway, I don't need it.
Don't need it.
Anyway, I think it makes the game more challenging, for sure.
Of course. And one thing that I definitely wanted to talk about was just the rise of indie games lately. Obviously, you've had games like Hotline Miami came out, as well as Stardew Valley and Cuphead, and many others that They're all just kind of huge for the genre. And what do you think has led to this increase in quality and just the rise of indie games in general?
I think people are maybe starting to get tired of the formula with like AAA games. There's been lots of disappointment from bigger developers and things like that, so indie games have more of a market, I think.
Yeah,
and they're
because
fun.
of obviously like AAA games, we get the, oh, this is the same football game every single year, except there's new players. Like, that's super
Right.
cool. Or it's Call of Duty, except there's new people for you to shoot at. You know, it's and another thing which I think really just kind of leads to like how creative and cool these indie games can be is a lot of indie games are really just like passion projects from developers. They'll kind of be like games that people have always wanted to make. They don't really have a huge budget to make them, but they have an idea. I know, I remember watching the main developer of Unraveled came out for E3 a few years ago, and he was on stage like literally like crying, just telling the audience about like his game because it's something he's wanted to make for so long. It was just kind of his dream to finally like put this out to the audiences. So I think like developers with passion like that is like why people enjoy playing these indie games.
Yeah, I think so. Whenever you're playing this, you can definitely like see the humor behind it, and I think you're gonna get that out of a passion project easier than some other things.
Yeah,
it gives it some character. It makes it more fun to play,
well,
honestly.
yeah, it's our favorite character, the goose. Just starting up a nice little picnic. He's got his apple. Hopefully no ants get to it, or the sandwich.
I've temporarily abandoned the other tasks.
gardener.
Yeah, he wouldn't leave me alone.
He's kind of scary. Maybe this picnic, you can bring him to the picnic, and it'll be like you guys will just kind of, be friends after that.
I don't think I can be friends with someone who wears a hat like that.
Well, there's actually another hat you can hopefully get him to wear if you go up and to the left. It's on this door.
The sun hat.
This nice little sun hat, which I think is, that's so much more gangster. You don't want that. Oh, you can pull over it. Try to sneak that cooler over there.
Oh yeah?
Yes, I think that's the move. Make sure you don't pick up the radio and try blasting some of his jams.
This guy could use some music.
He definitely could. I'm surprised he doesn't have AirPods in right now. But I think one of the most interesting things about this game is it plays a big role in a lot of indie games is the music. It's nothing like super special. It's just kind of like simplistic, like piano notes, and it'll get more intense like as you get closer to having people catch you and things like that. And it's really just a nice little goose. He's not very nice. He's really terrifying. Nice. But it's nothing special, the music, but it really kind of adds to this atmosphere of just this quiet little town getting terrorized by this goose as he is making sure that our gardener man just has to replace his rake everywhere he drops it.
Man, this guy's a tough dude to get around.
One of my favorite things I've seen in this game is how you can interact with so many different items within the environment. My personal favorite so far has been the harmonica. Yeah. So you can get the harmonica within your little beak and just play some nice little goose bluegrass music.
Blues,
yeah, just the old goose blues. So I want to know, is there anything so far that's really kind of stuck out as something you think is like just kind of fun to play with?
Well, I think it's mostly fun to like drag these things around, like the boots. I know they aren't like part of the missions, but I think moving the random things and trying to like get their attention on that, it's like strategy and fun because they get annoyed at you and you can sneak some time.
It's a distraction.
Right, exactly, yeah.
As I can see, you're still
and
working
I'm
on this
clearly
picnic.
failing at it.
We need some jam in that thermos for the end of our picnic, but also
and I've brought him right to me.
You so close. But one big thing we did talk about last week, me and Aaron, of course, we talked about couch co-op. And so I want to know, do you think that this game could benefit from allowing you to play with your friends? I mean, one goose is bad enough, but imagine if you and your friends could both take control of one just to strike fear into all of mankind.
I think it'd be fun for sure. I would have a good time with my buddies just being like, oh, we're gooses and we're going to terrorize the town. But I think that they would have to do something to make things a little bit more difficult if you had two people, because I think that you could sneak around these people way too easily. Granted, this is the first level, so I could be wrong about that.
That's also true. And now Quinn, obviously, as our resident game design and art connoisseur,
of course,
I'm sure that you have an opinion on the design and the look of this game. Is there anything it kind of reminds you of, and is there anything that you think make this game special?
It reminds me of a cartoon when I was a kid. Anything that can make the game special. I haven't gotten to hear the music a lot. You were talking about that earlier. I'd really like to get to listen to that some more, because I bet you that gives it a little bit of more of its character.
I can only imagine that the Goose Game soundtrack will just overtake lo-fi hip-hop as everybody's favorite music to study to.
I think so.
And so on YouTube, you'll be seeing thumbnails of just a goose wearing headphones studying. And it's going to be 24-hour live streams, and nobody's going to stop the goose. Just like this gardener, he's now soaking wet in his overalls. We're sneaking past.
Oh, kind of. We're kind of getting there. I had to pick what I wanted to go for here.
So as me and Quinn work on finishing up this picnic, I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in this week, and of course I'd like to thank Quinn for playing our maniacal goose this week, and we'll see you next week.